It's September 2025. The last year has been really humbling. And I think it's kind of forced me to face all of the most uncomfortable truths about myself, how I think about myself, what I feel capable of, like what is possible. And I think if I'm being honest, like the same reason I started YouTube is maybe the same reason I even got excited about business in a lot of cases was like, dude, this feels like a ticket out. I feel like I could have control over my life. I feel like I could have a better life. I could have, you know, access to beautiful things, to incredible experiences, to that felt meaningful, exciting, worthwhile. And I think for the first time I've had that completely challenged where I felt like I've been going towards something that I felt like I had control over. And for the first time I feel like I do not, or I've had to accept that I don't have as much control as I would have liked to have d- wanted to think I had. You know what I mean? Like I think I spent all of my teenage years sort of wheeling in this YouTube uh, career into existence, and it made me feel like I could do anything, and that any business, any just anything I wanted to do, that I could figure out a way to do it. And I've had to fail a lot now with this business. I've had to sell a lot of my savings, my stocks, everything that made me feel safe and secure, and kind of put that on the line. And that has humbled the shit out of me. And I think it's been a really good lesson and a good point in my life to go through all of that and to process those things and kind of do it for myself, you know? And I think I didn't know how to do things in the past or to find meaning in any sort of suffering or to really sit with it without like putting it out to the world and monetizing it or turning it into a story. And fuck, I didn't know how to have a life or what the difference was between my life, the life I wanted or the life I was creating through the videos, like what I thought my life was. Okay, so what I have dedicated this part of my life to doing and trying to figure out is essentially like a whole new model for entertainment, for Hollywood, for films. Um, Really, a year ago, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna go all in into this business, but this isn't the business. Creative Camp wasn't the business. It was really a community of people, artists, storytellers, filmmakers. Um, it was an events company, honestly. Like, just we're just doing events, but it felt like there's something more here, but like I didn't know what that was. We had no idea what the business model was, but we really held off trying to make money from the thing and, not forcing a business onto something that felt pure. And so, like, last summer, I was really obsessed and like kind of diving into Y Combinator because it felt like there were similarities in that model uh, to like what was happening in the creator space. Where what they noticed is that it was cheaper to fund a business to get it off the ground, and that you could build an incubator and fund a lot more projects, and the ones that did well would pay for all the losses, and like you'd have outsized returns here. In the entertainment industry right now, it works more like private equity, I'd say, where you take a few swings, and there's not that many that end up getting out there, and so many projects end up on hard drives, not really getting to the right audiences, and something about that, right, just felt like very risk adverse. And the internet, on the other hand, feels like, just make it, do it, put it out there. And that culture just feels like what I've grown up with and what I feel inspired by, and it felt like we could find a way to support that. That's more like the abstract business sense, but a lot of our friends who are creators, wanted to make movies, or we're like, these people are so talented, they are capable of telling longer stories, and like not just doing brand deals, getting stuck into that cycle. um, but like this institutional money wasn't really flowing over to creators, and if it was, the deals they were getting were like horrendous, and like you have no control over your IP, you have no stake, no rights, no final cut, like you kind of lose everything that you have on the internet. And like, again, these two worlds were not colliding well. If anything, they were hurting each other. And so we're like, what is that next brand system, infrastructure, support, resources that could help foster what was already happening on the internet, a movement from the ground up. How do we kind of go with the current and accelerate versus have capital that's top down try to figure out how to be involved with creators because they know that that's the next thing, but that doesn't really always work. And if you think about like social media being here and Hollywood and the film industry being over here, they're two very different systems. One is permissionless, free, easy, sort of democratized, and algorithmic and more random, and the other is like heavily centralized, controlled, expensive, money gate kept. And this one is really threatening this one because Hollywood is not, the center of culture anymore. It's the internet. It's streamers. It's, your favorite creator online. That's what we're spending all of our time on as consumers. And we just don't care as much about what's happening over here. And so me, being someone who liked making videos, some of my friends who are creators who also like to make videos, like they didn't go to film school. They started posting videos on YouTube. But then what if they want to make a movie or feel capable of making a movie or telling a longer story? Well, that doesn't really work on YouTube because that system doesn't support, the economics of a longer form piece of media. And so what are the incentives to make something longer, better, more meaningful? There aren't any monetary ones, and it's really hard to make enough money off of a YouTube video to support like a legitimate production that might look like a film. On the other hand, the film industry, it's really hard to make money. Most independent films lose money. It's like 98% of them lose money. But all the attention is over here. And so there's like, attention, direct consumer relationships, fans, audiences, but still there's no way to monetize it. And I think Hollywood is a great model of monetization. They spent the last 100 years figuring out windowing strategy and finding out like the most effective way to make the most money essentially from IP and stories. And like you can't really take a creator and put them in the film industry. And like there's a few cases of that working, but in a lot of ways like you end up losing the essence of who these people are, the stories they're trying to tell, and that can get muddled when it goes into a Hollywood system and suddenly you have 20 people in the writer's room, and because it has a budget of $20 million, you don't want to take certain risks, and you need to put these certain A-list actors in, and you need to add this thing to the story to have this commercial appeal, and it ends up becoming this like highly commercialized, which isn't a bad thing, but a lot of it is like on the defense versus a culture of taking risks, putting out innovative stories, and seeing what works. A lot of it is just like the same old model, and like that's just not as exciting, and I think over the past few years I've been really inspired, and I've just like fallen in love with brands like A24. I think what Neon has done is incredible, and like I love going to the movies. It was such a fun part of my childhood, and like it felt like we lost a lot of that, and that like what's being put out there is just like not always that good, or I don't want like part 8,000 of Fast and Furious. But it felt like we're kind of at this point where like creators who are making stuff online could make stuff worthy of a different medium almost, and they could sort of cross over or bridge into this like prestige, but like it's like experiential media. And that was just like such a cool concept. What if a creator could make a movie, and because they have an audience, they could go see it in theaters? Long story short, we did that. One of our friends who is a very talented writer, wrote a script, gave him $100,000, made the movie, and now we're putting it out into theaters this fall. And, the whole company kind of rides on the success of this movie. Ability to make payroll, all that stuff. Like, if this tanks, I don't know, but it feels exciting. It feels new, and there's just a lot I'm learning from doing that. And like, this is kind of a fight worth fighting. I want to build that brand, that feeling I want to get people back to the movies. Like, that's such an important third space, or just something that's so fun, and that, like, you know, maybe I just have a weird obsession with popcorn. Who knows? Maybe I'm way off, but like, you know, I think the more we can mix the internet with the real world, like, the better. And I think really just using the internet as a tool, to build community, to find other people, to have experiences that make you like feel something good in your heart. Because so much of what we live in this world today is just like not that. It's empty. It is just over optimized. It is like, it just doesn't feel right. And there's so much of that. And like, it's not to say we're gonna like fix social media or like, um, I'm not trying to simplify down that problem, but like more stuff like this, I just want to exist into the world, like, I think it is really figuring out the business behind art, but also like products and feelings and experiences that have like weight to them, that feel intentional, that feel human. Like, one of our business principles is make everything feel like a handwritten note. And like so much of what we tried to do is create experiences, events, things that are memorable, that go above your expectations. And like, it's small things. It's not to change the world. It's not to fix the internet, but it means something to people in small communities. And like that's something that can grow and compound. And anyway, it feels like my whole life I've never felt quite like I fit in. That's why I started the YouTube channel. But I've always wanted to feel a part of something, to feel some sort of belonging, and like a way to make sense of my life in this like world that we live in. Like, I don't know what it is or what drives it, but like a lot of it feels like I can create spaces or worlds or beautiful things, and that like more stuff can get out there into the world, and that like this is the vehicle that can enable that. And so maybe that's like a super selfish thing, where like the internet has allowed me to create more. It's I don't know, like maybe it is selfish. Maybe I want like a really beautiful house in Sea Ranch, California, with beautiful glass walls and cedar wood, and I feel like that will make me happy. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. But anyway, I it feels almost hypocritical of me to be building this business and working on it, and not using the internet as a tool to document what we're trying to do and what I'm trying to do and what I'm learning in myself and my life. And I don't know, like I miss it. I genuinely miss it. I love editing. I want to rebuild like this relationship. I don't know how, and it terrifies me, and it makes me anxious to like film myself. It makes me feel insecure. I like start playing with my hair. My voice tightens up. I feel like I don't look like myself. I'm trying, and it's not going to be perfect. And it's awkward. I feel awkward. I feel cringe. I'm just saying these things to just be fully honest. And I just have to work through it again, just like I did when I first started this channel, and when I post a video at night, wake up in the morning, and be too afraid to check my phone. Like, I would not go on my phone for hours because I was just like so freaked out that someone would leave a comment and be like, "This is cringe," like, blah, 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 and like that would be too devastating. And I'm going into that phase again of just like open to the cringe, and I don't even have a good ending, and I don't have a promise. And this isn't episode 1 of some series or challenge. But I'll see you around. Thanks for watching. Cheers!